Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with an opposition preview that, after the run that Villa are on, I am not necessarily looking forward to, but maybe making me feel a little bit better. I don't know about that, but I've got Errol from Redmen TV. How you doing, mate? Good to see you.
I am all good, man. I am all good. Yeah, thank you for having us on again. It's been a minute. So, yeah, I mean, Villa have just been going from strength to strength since we last spoke. So, yeah, looking forward to the game tomorrow. Still a little bit nervous, but in good spirits.
Yes, well, you should be in good spirits because, I'll get your thoughts on it. Obviously, changes afoot at Liverpool in the summer. Arne Slot coming in, but it could not have gone any better, to be fair.
Honestly, it couldn't have, and I don't think any Liverpool fan that told you they expected this would be a liar. You know, I can firmly believe that, because honestly, I think the task of taking the reins from Jurgen Klopp, albeit the fact that we, as a club, as a structure, as a whole, I know there's 3 big question marks around players and signing on contracts. But if you park that over there for 1 minute, you look at the rest of the enterprise that is LFC, and you think they're in a good condition. You know, they're in a good shape. They've got a playing age and a squad that is, like, you know, all about to hit its prime. You know, some key figures are going to hit its prime and become real key figures for them going forward. You've got, you know, great facilities now. The Axe has been implemented and is up and running. There's been expansions on the ground in the previous couple of years. You know, the sponsorship deals keep flooding in. Kid sponsors. You know, we've been at the cream of the crop with the likes of Nike and Adidas knocking at our door. So in everything in terms of off the pitch was in a really, really healthy state. So it just needed a footballing man to be able to come in and continue in that vein. And I'm pleasantly surprised, because I think even the hardened Liverpool fans, you know, the ones that live and breathe, you know, social media, as well as the club, as well as researching and looking at the next big things across Europe, whether that's players or managers, Arne Slot was one of the best kept secrets.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest with you, in terms of European football, because I don't think anybody understood the pedigree, and not necessarily the pedigree in terms of where he was performing, but in terms of football and philosophy and what he implements and how he approaches things. I don't think anybody really, and again, I think I'd call bullshit. Sorry, I don't know if it's right, but I think I'd call it if that was the case, because if anyone said, yeah, he's got this, he does that, he does the other, I'd have been like, what have you been watching? Do you know what I mean? Because I didn't know anything about him. So my thing was, I need to be open-minded. I need to trust that the footballing people above the pitch have a clear plan and an ethos of what they're going for. And he's someone that fits that. And hopefully, one of the things that I thought was probably one of the most disingenuous things that I seen out there more than anything else was the fear-mongering that Liverpool was done and our race was over, and, you know, the drop-off, it was a new era for Arsenal and City, and Liverpool were going to be cast to Europa League battles and Champions League battle races and all the rest of it. And I just thought, that's so disingenuous, because that's basically saying the athletes that we've had at this club for the last 7 years are not top athletes.
Yeah.
Because anybody worth their weight in gold would back themselves to say, provided this manager doesn't completely change, you know, we're not going to go to park the bus settings, and we're not going to go to 7 at the back, and we're not just going to be a counter-attacking team that picks people off on the transition. As long as it wasn't going to be crazy away from what they've been taught and what their bread and butter's been, those professionals would for themselves, for their own professional pride, they'd be thinking, well, hang on a minute, there's going to be 1 or 2 narratives here. People are either going to say Klopp made us, or we are the level that we've been
Yeah,
performing at for
yeah,
years, and
yeah,
Klopp's just been, the manager managing that. And I was always hopeful that these players would show their worth. And so far this season, not only have they shown their worth, they've shown their willingness to adapt. They've shown their willingness to take on new instructions. And I think the best thing that I can say about him before we park the slot eulogy is simply to just turn around and say, well, actually, when players buy into your system, the easiest way to keep them on side is getting wins. When you're winning, everybody's buying
exactly.
into it. Do
Oh,
you get me?
yeah,
You
yeah,
get
yeah,
it? Like everybody, the fans, the kitchen staff, the porters, the stewards, everybody buys into it when you're winning. When you're not winning, it's a lot harder to convince people to keep going it the right way. So I think in terms of the club, the fans, everybody's buying now. At the time of recording, we're sitting top of the Premier League and we're sitting top of the new Champions League format. You can't say better than that in terms of buying, because what I've been telling you to do at halftime and things aren't going right, do exactly what I've been telling you to do, because more often than not, we've been coming away with the 3 points. And I think the team fully believe in him now. And then, as I say, the next thing that we're going to turn our attention to as Liverpool fans soon is, well, can we capitalise on this position in January? Because you can talk to people in the people that were unsure. All of a sudden, you can give them that reassurance because the club's in a healthy state, league potential and everything is in a healthy state, and Slot's got a clear game plan for the next however many years that we want to look to keep him here. I think that is absolutely vital. So massive credit goes to Arnie Slot and his team and
No,
what he's managed to do so far.
he's done a fantastic job, and what's really struck me is how sort of calm and assured he seems to be. Like, even if you're down in games, even if there's like 10, 15 minutes to go, the Brighton game under a bit of pressure, then one or two tweaks, and all of a sudden you've won the game 2-1 and you've shut the game out. There's other game. You lost to Nottingham Forest, yes, little bit of a hiccup in the road, but just bounced straight back. No crisis, nothing, and it just
No
seems to have been,
meltdown.
yeah, just
Seamless.
a
It's been
really
seamless. And I said that, I said that on the watch along the other day, and I said that after the Forest game. I said, look, I'm kind of glad that he's got his nose bloodied here, and he knows what a defeat feels like now, because ultimately it's going to be interesting to see how he learns from that, and if he does do any learning. And as a manager, a new manager, you want to see that they learn from their mistakes and what could have changed and what we could have done differently. And then the other game in Brighton, they scored quite early. Within 25 minutes, I think they was 1-0 up, something like that, just before the half an hour mark. And I remember saying it on the watch along. Not that I'm happy that they've scored, but I'm intrigued to see how we deal with another set of adversity, because we know Brighton are a good team. We know that they play good football. We know that they are confident and are not going to change the way that they play after they score a goal. So it's going to be interesting to see, because at the minute, we're in control of a lot of our situations, which is great, because, the more we're in control, the more points we put on the board, the better chance we've got to take on City and Arsenal and whoever else is going to be up there. But ultimately, if we don't have moments where we're not in control and we get sucker punched, how do we respond? And as a Liverpool fan, we are quite a responsive club at times, and the fan base and the crowd at Anfield can be very responsive to certain situations. We need the proof. We don't have those we don't throw our chest about European nights and heritage if we haven't done all of those magical things along the way that's got us there to be able to have that confidence. And it's almost the same. Until we can kind of see the proof in the pudding, it's hard to believe that a team could be 1 or 2-0 up and we can actually come back and we can do it. So it was intriguing and it was interesting, and it was very it was very good at the end result to be able to see, actually, we've come through that within the 90 minutes unscathed. Yeah, we had a little bit of a scare, but this team didn't lose their heads. They didn't stop playing the football that they've been instructed to play, and he was still able to get the job done with a bit of a deficit to begin with. So that bodes well as well.
yeah. I mean, moving on to kind of Saturday, and you mentioned about kind of a manager coming in and getting results and players buying into it. I mean, Unai Emery's kind of had that for the last 2 years at Villa, which is phenomenal,
Incredible.
brilliant manager. But as it stands at the moment, he's probably in what would be classed performance-wise and maybe results wise as well. Some of them might be able to be justified, 1-0 against Bruges after winning the first 3 games. So, a weakened team against Crystal Palace, however you want to call it, you can justify it, but performance wise hasn't been good. And
Mm-hmm.
and substitutions tactically maybe not quite as strong as he maybe could be. So yeah, he's going through maybe a little bit of a tough time now, probably sort of the toughest period that he's had. How do you see it at Villa at the moment, and kind of this sort of period that they're going through? And obviously with Liverpool to come on Saturday, it doesn't get any easier.
No, and I think we knew that it was going to be like that at parts this season for the likes of Villa. I think what he's achieved in the last 2 years has been phenomenal under Unai Emery, and I still think he's headed in the right direction on all fronts by all accounts. So when I say, the critique, these things were going to happen. It was never going to be flawless. I think the big thing from a Villa's perspective, and speaking to Billy earlier in the week, it was the fact that it's more kicking yourselves for the missed opportunities at the moment. Like, he's kind of happy, and he'll take the ebbs and flows of certain results, and managing the fixture schedule is one thing. So you can understand why you'll feel a weaker team in certain games, and you've got quite a bit of credit in the bank in terms of Europe at the moment. So you don't have to be perfect to see yourselves through at this moment in time. But I think it's the missed opportunities, like the weekend. The weekend was brilliant from a Liverpool perspective, and probably Villa looking at how the fixtures went on Saturday. Probably felt the same. This is the perfect weekend to tee us up. City have lost, Arsenal have lost. You go into it, Man U and Chelsea draw. There's games around you, and you think to yourself, yes, this is an opportunity for us to not necessarily get some distance, but put ourselves comfortably in the chasing pack. So we're one of the teams that has got to be moved out of the way by another pretender almost. And I think that's where, from a Villa's perspective, of the ones that I've spoken to, that's where the disappointment has felt. It's because there's been missed opportunities when there's been a chance to really put a little bit of a marker down and say, yeah, we're not going to get moved easily. You've let yourselves down a little bit. I think this is a tough period for every top 5, top 6 side, and you can extend that to the rest of the league, obviously. But when you're playing twice a week, you're playing Champions League, you're playing, or Europa League, Europe, where you're the Prem up into the international. I don't think the international breaks help a lot of the better teams anyway. I think that that they're more of a hindrance, but you have to just deal with it. But there's something about just this period for everybody where if you can come through as unscathed as possible and collect as many points, it's just about setting yourselves up for that Christmas run and just making sure you're in a good shape for when it comes to knockout football, but then obviously securing your place in the Champions League for the next season. So it is an important time it is an important time in the season. Don't make any mistake about that. I just think Villa have just lacked a little bit of a clinical edge, a little bit ruthless at times, maybe. And this is why I still think the Villa are a problem for us, because you fancy yourselves, you still play confident football. I don't think you've abandoned your style or what it is that you do. I just think you've lacked in some really key moments and a bit of concentration along the way. I mean, you can look at Wednesday's game for that from Tyrone Mings. Like,
absolutely,
that's a freak, that in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's a freak moment. Like, that's nothing to do with the system or the structure. That's just a freak moment more than anything else. So I think a little bit of focus, a little bit of concentration, and then I find in that little bit of that ruthless streak. And to be honest, probably a little bit of your swagger. Maybe your confidence has dipped a little bit. Given the task and the enormity of consistency now, that is such a key fundamental for teams at the top half. It's that consistency, and I think Billy's alluded to it. Teams in and around where Villa want to be and pushing into securing that top 4, the form is going to be up and down. There's only probably going to be 2 or 3 really super consistent teams, and out of a 10-game run, you might pick up 5, 6 wins, but then the other joint games might be draws and losses. So you're going to have to balance them a little bit. And I just think that's where he's off.
Yeah. Quick one relating to Saturday then. How are Liverpool shaping up? Have they got a full squad? And how does Arne Slot take on Villa?
Squad-wise at the moment, mate, we're still short of Diogo Jota. So he's definitely injured for the time being. I'm trying to think who else. Obviously, Alisson's still a big miss, but I think Kelleher's been brilliant since he's came in and stepped up. I also think he changed things a little bit on in midweek against Bayer Leverkusen, and I'm not sure if he'll stick with it. I wouldn't be mad if he did, bear in mind, but he might go back to putting Nunes through the middle and getting Diaz back out on that left-hand side. But equally, if he's stuck to keeping Diaz through the middle. What I think I've noticed a little bit about Arne Slot in recent weeks is, because since Jota's injury, he's obviously only really had one individual to play through as the 9. So when he hasn't really wanted to rely solely on that 9, he's played with 2 9.5s and a 10 almost. And it's either been Szoboszlai or Jones that then has often accompanied Diaz or Gakpo through the middle. And they've made that as a little bit of a 4. And in that 4, there's kind of 2. One will drop, one will go a little bit higher, one will drop, and they rotate, and there's a lot of fluidity. So I'm expecting to see more of that in the next couple of weeks while Jota's still out. But I think tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised if he reverted back to putting Nunes through the middle. I think Nunes has worked really hard early parts of the season, given the amount of chances he's had. And again, I think that midfield, there's an opportunity there to potentially rest McAllister and maybe play Jones and Szoboszlai just for the energy. We've got to be able to compete with the likes of Banana in your middle, the Tillemans. We've got to be able to compete with them in their physicality. So in order to do that, I think we're going to need more legs and more runners in that midfield. I think Gravenberch as well has been an incredible 6-footer so far this season. So there are a lot of positives, and I also think it might be the left back situation of Tsimikas keeping his position as well. So there's a few things there that he's tinkered with, and he's starting to now, with the players that we've got in the squad, he's starting to make his own best 11 out of those as well.
Yeah, interesting. Well, it is going to be a very good game and a real test for Villa's character, I think, in a lot of ways, to see how they can get out of this sort of blip at the moment that they're in. Before I get your score prediction, Errol,
Yes.
if anyone hasn't heard from where you are and what you do, mate, shout out your channel, because it is great. I love your watch-alongs.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. So I pretty much cover a lot of watch-alongs with Redmen TV. They are the go-to fan channel for Liverpool. Them, the Anfield Wrap, both brilliant platforms. But I cover a lot of the watch-along content over on Redmen TV, specifically for a lot of our home games. So yeah, stay tuned. Obviously, you'll find them all over socials. But if you do want to come and check in with us tomorrow in the evening, I will be there. Making sure that hopefully Liverpool get on their way and get 3 points before the international break.
Yes. So what are you saying then for tomorrow, mate? Score and scorers?
Do you know what? The scorers, I think Salah is down to continue his run. I think Salah, he missed out in the midweek, so I put Salah on the score sheet. But a 2-1, it just feels like an Arne Slot scoreline. It's either a 2-1 or a 2-0. And I think I look, obviously Bayern was a little bit of an outlier because that was 4 and it was brilliant, but we don't need to score in bunches. If the opportunity's there, show we can take them, but if it's not, we don't have to force it either. So I think he's more concerned about securing the result and making sure that as a performance we don't lose a game. So I'm quite confident that it's going to be a 2-1 to Liverpool. Yeah, I'm going to say we're going to get 3 points. It won't be an easy game, and I think Villa will be in it for a long time. But I think Liverpool will edge it.
I can't see anything other than a Liverpool win, if I'm being honest. I'm so optimistic on my previews and generally every week, but I think it's just a game at the wrong time for us. I think if we can get some sort of performance in there of something to build on for after the international break, I'll be sort of mildly happy with that. But yeah, I think I agree with you. I think it'll be a close sort of 2-1 victory for Liverpool. I just can't see us at the moment.
Who's your big threat at the minute? Who are your guys that are in form? Who are your hitters?
Well, this is it. I mean, Morgan Rogers, I would probably say, is our main sort of carrier of the ball, but he's
strong, isn't he?
Yeah, he's brilliant. But the problem is at the moment, Leon Bailey's not playing as well. Watkins is kind of feeding off scraps almost, and what those players can get him. John Duran can only do the super sub for so long. So it's a bit difficult at the moment to and say Jacob Ramsey could be, but are we? I don't see us getting the ball to those players or being able to get the ball to those players enough. That's where I see it kind of falling a little bit. If we were all firing, if Bailey was firing, if Rogers, Watkins, Ramsey were firing, then we'd have 4 or 5 different outlets to attack you with. But at the moment, when there's only 1 or maybe 2 at best, it's quite easy to shut us down. So that's where I just don't quite see the confidence of the players and that connecting as a team that just needs a bit of work at the minute. So I do think we'll cause you some problems. I
Yeah.
think we'll be organised, but I just unfortunately don't see Villa getting the victory. I think, yeah, I think you're probably right with the 2-1 score, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
We'll
We'll
see.
see.
Anything can happen, man. Anything,
Yeah,
anything can
yeah,
happen, and that's the beauty of the
exactly.
Premier League, man. Like there'll still be upsets this weekend, and I think what we've both done and started both of our seasons have been absolutely fantastic by their own merits, really. Do you know what I mean? I think Unai Emery continuing to keep the wheels, on the track for Aston Villa and just continue that growth. Where he is, we're up until obviously this week in Europe was unbelievable. I still fancy us heavily to get
Yeah,
yourselves into the knockouts for that. So I think from a Villa's perspective, it's about steadying the ship now.
yeah,
Don't leak too many
exactly.
goals, stay consistent and stay a little bit resolute, shore up the defence. And yeah, just stop being your own worst enemies. I think obviously there's not every now and again we will have it this season. I'm sure we'll come up against a team that's just better than you on the day, and you just have to say fair due and give them the flowers. But if you stick to doing what you do well long enough over the course of a season, right now you really do have a chance to disrupt the status quo of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
established order in the Premier League. And I just think it's fantastic from a Villa's perspective because I just think he's played decent footy. I like Unai Emery. I think he's a great manager, and I think he's got some real prospects and talents there within that squad. And he's aren't shy of adding in as well. Owners will throw their hand in the pocket to try and keep his where he needs to be as well at the minute. So in the long term, I think it's a little bit of short term pain for that long term game is what I'd be hoping if I was a Villa fan myself personally. But that's
Well,
just me.
mate, you've put me in a better mood anyway, so that's good. That's good. Errol, thank you so much for your time, mate. We will
Again,
be
I
back
appreciate
with
it.
our full match preview later on with the boys, so make sure you take a look out for that. As I say, check out Errol on Redmen TV. Make sure you do. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, help us on the road to 5K. And as always, remember, we all follow the Villa.